Okay, so welcome back to the Messy Cook. So my earlier video, I showed you how to make my pasta sauce or ragu for the lasagna. So I'm going to do that as a separate video and make this as a separate one as well. So this is how I do my lasagnas together. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what we've got here and how I do mine. So I'm hoping to make 3, maybe 4 large ones. 3 are for the wedding and 1 large one for my house. And then 6 small ones. These are about a 5 by 7, which is perfect for 3 or 4 people, 3 comfortably. There is the sauce we made earlier. It reduced some of the liquid down. Is absolutely delicious. I added the basil in at the end. I'm going to do some ricotta cheese and some of the smaller ones. So this is a Choicella ricotta. I do keep the tomato sauce aside. Just one that I put in the very bottom of each pan a little bit so the first lasagna sheets don't stick. I have a whole great big bowl there. I don't know if you can see it there. Of, sorry, there we go, of mozzarella, sorry, at the back there. And a small bowl in front of it right here of some Parmesan cheese. And I like to use these sheets here, Oliveri. Oh, let me see here. Hopefully my camera work isn't too bad. So these are Oliveri lasagna sheets. These are my favorite. They're in the refrigerated section of the grocery store. Usually kind of by like where you'll find your fresh pastas. So I'm going to kind of put that there. Hopefully you can see some of the layers. I'm going to move around a little bit here and there. I'm going to do the 4 big ones. The small ones will be basically the same, just smaller sheets of pasta sauce or pasta. And I will cut to size if need be. So I like to put a little bit in each one here. So you can see, I'll come around the other side there, and not too much, just like a 1/4 cup, maybe a few tablespoons, enough that it's just you just want to kind of barely coat the bottom of the pan, just so when we put the sheets in, we can get those in and they won't stick to the bottom of the pan. So when you lift out your pieces of lasagna and you're ready to eat, you won't have a big mess stuck to the bottom. Okay, so I put in just a touch more than I had originally showed you, probably close to 1/3 of a cup of sauce. This is just plain tomato sauce. I don't season this. I used to put the actual sauce that I made in the bottom, but it's a waste because if it does stick a little bit, then you've basically wasted your your good sauce. So these sheets here are a little bit long, so I'm going to trim off about 1 inch, and we're going to use all those small pieces as well. So I tend to buy too many of these sheets as I go along, but that's all right because we tend to use them up again. We can freeze them and you can make cannellonis out of them, lasagna rolls, whatever you like. I'm going to put the extra slices aside, and we're going to do, I think 4 large ones here, and we're going to continue to layer these in and go from there. I'll show you to the next layer in a second. All right, so I've layered out the 4 pans here with the first layer of lasagna sheets. Now, you don't have to use fresh lasagna sheets. I just like them because they don't have to be parboiled. They're all set to go. And, when you use the long ones with little kind of curved edges or whatever, they're fine, but they do need to be parboiled. So it's completely your choice, whatever you like. So I'm going to put a big scoop in each of these and hopefully not drip all over the place. I put my sauce down here so it's easier to use and you actually be able to see what I'm doing here. There we go, one more good big one there. There we go. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take a spoon that sauce and swirl them all around. You just want to make it fairly even. If there's not enough, you can always add a little bit more. Like I said, we made a huge pot of sauce. So we want to do 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 layers in each of these. So I don't want to do too much because we are going to add some cheese in between each layer as well. There's a little bit of Parmesan, and I'll put a little bit of ricotta in as well. And I'm going to use that as well for the small ones. I'm only going to show you the big ones. You don't need to see the small ones. What I do when I make these is get them ready. If I'm going to eat one right away, obviously I'll cook it. I usually bake it at 350 for about 45 minutes with tinfoil on the top. And if it needs a little bit more, I'll take the tin foil off and maybe cook another 10 or 15 minutes, take it out, and then let it sit 15 or 20 minutes before I eat it, just so it kind of, sets back together and it comes out of the pan a little bit easier. So that looks pretty good there. So I'm going to set that aside. Now what I want to do is I fresh grated Parmesan. So this was some Parm that I bought from Costco, and just grated up on the grater setting on my food processor. That was the best thing to do today. It saved me hours probably of cutting and grating by hand. I don't like to buy pre-grated cheeses. They tend to be covered in cellulose and other things that aren't really that great for you. I'm going to open up the ricotta here, and we're going to put that in. Yeah, now if I'm not cooking it right away, like I'm not going to be cooking these are not till next week I need them. What I'll do is I will, sorry, let me just put this in some here. What I'll do is I'll freeze them. I'll cover them with plastic wrap really well, 2 or 3 good layers of plastic wrap, and I will put them in the freezer. And then when it's time to cook them, the day before I want to cook them, I like to take them out and get them defrosted in the refrigerator. So I'll defrost those in the refrigerator. And when it's time to cook, we just cover them in some, I was going to say plastic wrap, but tin foil. And then we take that tin foil, the lasagna, again, cook it in the oven, 350, 45 minutes. Just as if it was fresh. And you know what? You would never know it was frozen beforehand. It actually turns out really, really well. So I'm just going to continue with this and finish off the ricotta in these. All right, so the ricotta is in there. You don't have to use ricotta. Some people use, I've seen people use cottage cheese, which is actually quite nice. My mother used to do that first when we were growing up. And you don't have to put anything in there other than just the meat and some cheese. You don't have to do ricotta. I grated this mozzarella. Again, I showed that's a little bit in this video. You'll see, I think I'm going to put that as a pre just to show everybody. And we want a good handful of cheese in each of these here. So basically all we're going to do is we're just going to continue to layer each lasagna like this. It's nice doing it instead of quite shredded. This is more of a crumbled mozzarella cheese that I did, again, like I said, in the food processor. And it goes a little further. So this should work out really well for all of these lasagnas. So that's a pretty good layer on each of them. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to layer again. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on lasagna sheet. We're going to put the meat sauce there, and then we're going to add on all 3 cheeses, and we're going to continue to layer until we get just about to the top there. So I'm going to continue on with these and show you how we finish it off. I just want to show you on this first one as I do the next layer. You know, if you run out or you didn't buy enough pasta sheets and you have all these lovely little ends left, and you're still trying to do a couple layers, you can just layer them out. What I did on this one, just to show you, and I mean, nobody's going to know the difference when they eat lasagna. So I've got one sheet on this side, and then just those end pieces. As long as it's covering everything, when you're cooking it and eating it, you honestly don't know that it's kind of patched. Sometimes we do that with pie crust as well. If it's patched, who's going to see it and, complain, right? Okay, so this is last layer. So what I do on the last layer is just cover the top. I like to give this kind of a bit of a press down. You'll see it's a bit juicy, but that's okay because that will soak into the noodles and it won't be wet when you cook it. So I'm going to squish that down. There we go, just to press it in. Making a bit of a mess here, but that's all right. And then I take one more good scoop of the meat sauce on the top of each one. I do have quite a bit left here, so it's going to be perfect because I want to do 6 small ones just for our freezer to get us through the fall and the winter. There we go. And this little lovely piece here is one of the rinds from the Parmesan cheese that I couldn't seem to find. So I'm glad I got that out because that would not be a nice bite for anybody in particular. So, and just to thin it a little bit, I'm going to add a tiny bit of tomato sauce with each one. Maybe 2 tablespoons on each, just to kind of mix that in to give a little bit more over the top, a little more thinness. And the fun is still hiding in here. There we go. We're just going to swish this all in, kind of mix it as we go. We just want to cover that top back up. A decent amount of sauce. Not to be a huge amount of sauce, but a decent amount. So we cover that up, and then we're going to cover it with mozzarella cheese. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap them in plastic wrap. Let me go to room temperature. The meat sauce is still a little bit warm. It's not too bad, but just a touch warm. And so we want to, let those go to room temperature. We'll have them all wrapped up. And a piece of tomato skin in there from when I did my stewed tomatoes. Don't want that. Yeah, So basically make sure they're room temperature. Add in, make sure they're, got a lot on my mind here. Yeah, cool them to room temperature. So they're not too warm. A little warm isn't too bad. We're going to cover them in plastic wrap. I do want to cover these about, I don't know, 3 or 4 good layers so they hold tight and nothing, you know, goes falling out, and they stay nice and fresh. They do have to last a week, and we want them to taste great. For my small ones, I do have these little containers that have lids on them, which are perfect because it's kind of like a little takeout container. Let me just grab one of those for you to show you. Let's see here. So with the small ones, we're going to do, they're like I said, a little 9x5 pan. That's this pan right here. So what I have for these is they come, well, they don't come with, I have to buy them separately, but I get these at the warehouse store. If you're in Hamilton, it's at Nash and Barton, and I do small lasagnas. I can still do pretty about 3 to 4 layers on this. It feeds, you know, 3 people fairly comfortably, or 2 if you're really hungry, or 4 if you're not. And then once we've got it in there, we just put this on top and fold these sides down. I still wrap it in plastic, but what I do is I write, you know, defrost, cook at 350 for, you know, 35-40 minutes, uncover, etc. So it has instructions on there, so if someone wants to take one out and eat it, they know what they need to do. So it's a nice handy little container. So that's what we're going to use for our small ones. So I'm just going to top these off, last off with some mozzarella cheese. So we have a little bit of an extra stringy cheese on the top and a little touch of Parmesan as well, and we're going to wrap those. So that is basically it. So once you're done, freeze them up and take them out when you're hungry. You know, take them out at least a day or so ahead of time, just to be sure that you're, you know, completely defrosted. I've never cooked these from frozen, so I'm not sure how long they would need to be in, I don't know, I just would be afraid they'd burn anyhow. I just find defrosting them first is better. That's what I've always done and got a good result from it. So that's basically it. A little bit of parm, cover them, put them away. And I've had these in the refrigerator for up to about 6 months, the small ones, and they taste as good the day of as they did the day that I made them. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember, this is a, you know, it's a full day to do this, but if you have the time and or it's a rainy day, it's a perfect day to do something like this for prep. I also do this for sometimes for chili or mac and cheese, and yeah, as I go along and do those videos, I'll join you in on them, and we'll be all set. So you have a great day. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time on the Messy Cook 1970. Have a wonderful day.